Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review on my supercharger, the KRAFTWERKS supercharger that I put on my 2009 Honda Civic Si. I've had it on for I think like 12,000 miles. So I think I'm pretty qualified to do a bit of a review on it. I'm going to go through some pros and cons of it, and then I'm going to just kind of do a little bit of an overview. I'll put some sound clips in there and some polls. And I'm just going to kind of just like review it, and you know, if you guys are thinking about getting it, I'll either sway you one way or the other with the pros and the cons. But yeah, let's get right into it. Alright guys, here's my 2009 Honda Civic Si. As you can see, it is KRAFTWERKS Supercharged. I've had this kit on for about a year now. It's been great for, you know, for what it is. Everything is basically stock. I have stock clutch, stock internals, stock header. All I have is an exhaust and the supercharger, and it's, you know, it's been great. It makes decent power. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start with the pros first. All right, so one of the first pros that I would say is the sound. The sound of it is amazing. I mean, it's so good. It sounds super nice. It's kind of got like almost a turbo vibe, but like, also, I don't know how to explain it. I'll put a sound clip in, or I'll try to get a sound clip in. But it sounds really good. I would say that a turbocharger sounds better with like a nice blow-off valve, but you can achieve the same effect because I have a blow-off valve. It's like way down there. You can't see it. It's underneath everything. But I was thinking about maybe switching it to a little bit lighter spring to where it blows off a little bit heavier, but I'm not sure. But it sounds good nonetheless. Just, I would say it's not as good as a turbo. It's great still. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's great still. The next pro that I would have for this is the power. This car, before it had the supercharger, made, let's see, this is almost a 200,000 mile engine. So it probably, you know, these things make 195 horsepower stock. So I bet it made 180. It now makes just around 300, give or take. I've done a ton of altitude conversions, and I'm not entirely sure whether to trust them or not. So, you know, like some altitude conversions tell me I'm making 330. Like at this altitude, it says I'm making around 280. But if you do altitude conversions, it says 330, but I don't really know whether to trust that. So I just kind of round up to 300. I think that's a good number. That's a good middle ground between the two. So I just say 300 when people ask me how much it makes. So, you know, that's a good 100 plus horsepower increase to the stock, you know, the stock horsepower, which is, I mean, you feel 100 extra horsepower in a 2,800 pound car. So I mean, it's no joke. That extra 100 horsepower seriously pulls this car around, and it is so much fun to drive. Okay, the next thing that I would consider a pro about this over something like a turbo or a Roots supercharger or a twin screw is the reliability. I have had this thing on for 12,000 miles, and I daily drive this thing. I drive it up to the mountains. I drive it up to school. I drive this thing everywhere. I have had, hang on one second, I have had 0 problems with the actual supercharger. The issues that I've had that have come up are from things not really related to the supercharger. Like, for instance, you know, just recently, my clutch pedal assembly actually broke, which obviously has nothing to do with that. I've had a couple coolant leaks, not to do with the supercharger. That was from me. I didn't tighten something down right, so it leaked coolant. The one issue, but again, it's still kind of my fault. The one issue that I have had was with the reservoir. I've had a couple issues with it. The first being I must not have gotten the screw on the bottom that actually feeds the oil to the supercharger. I must not have gotten it quite tight, because it started to leak oil, like drip oil down. But once I got that tightened on, it worked perfectly fine. And then just about a week ago, I was driving on the highway, and when I got to my house, I had noticed a little bit of a oil spill on the ground, and it was actually from this overflowing. which I believe I may have overfilled it just a little bit because you're supposed to fill it up warm, which I usually don't. So other than that, I have had basically no issues yet. I'm saying yet, I'm not jinxing it, but like the supercharger's been great. My engine's been great. Man, I am really fucking myself right now, aren't I? This is gonna bite me in the ass. I'm gonna use this sound clip to cut when my car is being towed. That's what I'll do. But other than that, I mean, it's been fabulous. And I do pulls often, like not often, I baby my car a little bit. It is my daily. I need to be able to drive this thing everywhere, but I do pulls with it. So it's not like I'm, shifting at 3,000 RPM. So I would say that's another one. The last pro that I can kind of give it is, I mean, my engine bay is filthy, but I think it looks great. Like it looks kind of like a half of a turbo. I put like this heat tape on it just to make it, because the piping was a little bit ugly, but I think the looks are great. It doesn't get too hot because it doesn't sit right on top of the engine like a normal supercharger would, and it doesn't get the exhaust gases like a turbocharger would. So it stays a lot cooler, which is really nice. But I think it looks really good. I love the look of my car. Of course, I wouldn't be driving it and doing all these videos and photos with it if I didn't like it. Unfortunately, that is kind of the end of the pros. So I guess I'll get started with my opinion of what the cons would be. Okay, so this isn't really a con about the supercharger. It's more a con about how you're gonna buy it. Don't buy this thing used, guys. I bought this thing used and it was a pain to get put on because it was missing a couple of parts. It was missing the AC line, which I was able to, which I'll get into this in a second, but it was a pain to get that. But I got the AC line. It was actually missing the intake manifold, so I actually had to buy one from Skunk 2, which they said would work, and when I went to put it on, it did not work. It didn't fit. This part right here, I had to get lopped off and welded to where the supercharger outlet would actually fit. So don't listen to Skunk 2. They're fucking blatant liars. So that, and then the AC line, Skunk 2 produces KRAFTWERKS, like they own KRAFTWERKS, and I messaged them a million times about an AC line, and they would not give it to me for the longest time. Finally, after probably 6 months of like pestering them, I finally got it ordered. It was so annoying. That's one of the cons of this. The company is not at all helpful. I've emailed them multiple times. I tried to get an intake manifold that was actually for it, couldn't get that. I tried to get an AC line, couldn't get that. This company is not good. Like if you're looking for customer service, go literally anywhere else. Skunk 2 does not have great customer service, in my personal opinion, because that's from what I've experienced. But that's just me. Another con would be it doesn't make as much peak horsepower as a turbo, obviously, because it's got a way different power curve. But I would say it's a better power curve, or a better like I like to sacrifice a little bit of peak horsepower for a little bit more low end torque. So I'm okay with sacrificing a little bit of that, but it is something you have to consider if you're considering turbo or supercharger. You're gonna lose out. If you want that max top peak horsepower, you want to be banging off the rev limiter, don't get the supercharger, get a turbo, because the turbo is gonna make more horsepower up top. You're not gonna have as much low end torque, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Like, I like how this feels, and it feels great throughout the entire power curve, which goes on to my next con, which is kind of a pro and kind of a con. It kind of depends on how you look at it. I would say one of the cons would be the power curve. It's got a super linear power curve. So like, unlike a turbo, you get a huge spike in power as soon as you get over a certain RPM. This has a super linear power curve. It's just super consistent is what I would say. So it's kind of like a turbo in the fact that it builds more boost the higher RPM you have. So it has a similar kind of feel to a turbo because you don't have like that instantaneous boost that you do with a supercharger, which kind of gets me into my next con, which is it's not a true supercharger. It's a centrifugal supercharger, which basically means it runs off the belt, and that's kind of what allows it to suck in more air and boost it. So you're not going to have that instantaneous low end torque that you do with a supercharger. Like if you look at my Honda that I have up on my screen, when I do a pull, it doesn't start making boost until I'm actually like all the way up. Similar to a turbo, instead it builds it super consistently. So like not like a turbo where you get that boost like all at once. You get this like it starts to build. And it builds throughout the entire RPM range, so the higher you go, the more boost you're going to be making. So like all the way to redline, I think I make about 7 pounds of boost, which sounds like not a lot, but it's a ton for a car like this. But yeah, it's not a true supercharger. So if you're looking for something with that instantaneous torque, this doesn't have it. This does not have instantaneous torque. I think it gained me like 40 torque. So I would say if you're looking for that straight up torque, go with a supercharger, a true supercharger. But other than that, that's kind of the end of the cons, but overall, it's great. I love this car. I love the kit. It wasn't too, so if I had bought it new, it wouldn't have been difficult to put on. It would have been a day, 2 day max. And like, I'm like a super novice mechanic. I don't work on cars like a ton. Obviously I work on my own, but it took me and my girlfriend and my friend about 2 days to put it on. Really the most difficult part was the fuel pump. But other than that, it's been super great. It's been super reliable. It's been super fun. I mean, I just did a pull in it. I spun first and second. It's so much fun. I mean, and you don't like, these cars are fun from the factory, but once you add a little bit of horsepower and you have that handling, it's crazy. It's so much fun. Overall, if you're thinking about boosting your Honda, your K series, your B series, your D series, fucking do it, dude. Like, it is so worth it. I don't care if you get a supercharger, a turbocharger, centrifugal, I don't care. Boost that thing. It is so much fun and you will not regret it. Like, this is the best money I've ever spent on my car because it gave me so much horsepower and it's so much fun. I would say it's worth it. If you're thinking about getting the supercharger or a turbocharger or anything to put boost or more power, do it, man. It's so much fun. It's so worth it. Like, I can't even like explain it. It's so worth it. If you're on the fence about it and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do it. It might make it, not reliable. If you want reliability, this thing is so reliable. It's been super reliable. I know a ton of people that also say it's reliable. Like, there's a ton of people on YouTube that have had this for even more miles than me and daily drive it, and they say it's great. I mean, it's a great kit. But yeah, if you're looking for reliability, get this. If you're looking for peak horsepower, get a turbo. But I would still kind of, I don't know. I'm on the fence about whether you would want to go with this or a turbo. Sometimes I wish I went with a turbo because you can make more peak horsepower and I think it sounds a little bit better and it can look a little bit better. But I went with this ultimately. It's bolt-on. I mean, it's fun. It works. It's great. If you're thinking about doing it, do it. That's going to just about wrap it up for this video. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think and like and subscribe, and thank you. All right, bye-bye.